spire of the wave. Here's Marcio coming through. Center down the play. Shot saved. Now we're ready. Rebound. And that's a goal.
Wow, what a goal by the Wave.
This is MASL Monday. What's going on, everybody? I'm Alex Bastiavansky, bringing you all the best from the Major Arena Soccer League. You're listening on Sirius XM FC channel 157 and watching on MASL TV on YouTube. And joining me today to talk about all the stuff that went down over the past weekend is the play-by-play man for the Milwaukee Wave, Tom Wynn. Tom, how's it going?
Hey, great, Alex. Great to be with you.
And we've got a lot to talk about because you guys once again had a very interesting weekend, sort of a tale of two teams from one day to the next. And let's start things off with the first game against the Tropics, which is the one that everyone was looking forward to, the big Eastern Conference showdown. You take it 7-5, and we're going to get to the deciding goal in a moment that was somewhat controversial. But just take us through the game and what you saw from both teams in this contest.
Yeah, it was a pretty intense battle. I would say almost, a postseason type intensity in this one, Alex. Third meeting of the year between the teams, and we had beaten the Tropics in the first two, a couple of pretty close games. In fact, you can recall the last time we played them was that goal they almost scored from midfield at the end of the game that would have tied it up. So there's no question, they came in very intense to try to avoid losing all three in the season series to us. But I think we were ready for the challenge. We got a couple of our key veterans back in the lineup for that game, Marcio Leite and Andre Hain. So obviously that helped. And we were able to build up a 5-2 lead. They came back with a run to tie it up. And then we had, the goal that we're going to see we ended up being fortunate enough to score with a couple minutes to go, and then empty netter for Ian Bennett at the end to make it 7-5. But it was a great battle. We've had three just terrific games against these guys so far this year, and if for some reason we meet in the postseason again, I think we're just going to have another tremendous battle against them.
For sure, it was a definite playoff atmosphere in there, wasn't it? Almost 5,000 on hand for the contest. Was the building just buzzing, or what?
Yeah, it certainly was. And again, even though Florida hasn't been an overly long-time rival of ours, we've only been rivals for 7 years since they've been in the league. But because they've really become a high-quality team in this league, I think the local fans start to look forward to these games when we play them. We've had some tremendous games over the years, including all three this season, and so I think that certainly gets the crowd pumped up a bit. So like you said, it was a great atmosphere in there.
And we just saw for those of you listening on Sirius XM FC channel 157, the deciding goal in the game, or the game winner, which was by Andre Hain, was controversial. And we'll see if producer Phil Ivanko can throw it back on screen for a second here. But what happened was, first the save by Jorge Navarrete, and then Ian Bennett collides, as we see there, with the keeper, and makes actually a little bit of head contact as well. At least Navarrete was indicating that by pointing to his head, as we see it right here. And then Hain jumps in, gets the winning goal. Now, Florida is screaming bloody murder, and the play was reviewed right away by the officials, and the ultimate decision was it was a good goal. You guys handled it really well in the booth, I thought. You guys were giving your comments on it, and you both said, yeah, you can see why Florida's up in arms a little bit. There was definite contact with the keeper. What was your take, Tom, on the ultimate decision of it being a good goal?
I guess, Alex, I was maybe a bit surprised that it was not overturned. Typically, when you have contact with a goalkeeper, they tend to, give the benefit of the doubt to the keeper. I think we were fortunate that it was ruled a goal on the field, and then the officials felt there was enough evidence, I guess, to overturn. It was pretty close. I mean, there's no question there was some contact there between Ian and Navarrete. But I don't think it was heinous contact, if I can use that term. But if the officials had overturned it, I don't think anybody would have been shocked. Art Kramer and I were talking off the air. Art, of course, is my broadcasting colleague for the Wave broadcast, and we both agreed had they overturned it, there would have been no significant protest on our end.
Yeah, I mean, the officials do a really great job in this league, and I love the advent of
Absolutely.
instant replay that allowed them to look at things. In their defense, looking at that also, I can see the other side of it. I can see the fact that he wasn't draped all over the keeper, Bennett. He didn't. There's occasions where there's full-on body contact where the keeper goes flying, and it's obvious. In that case, there was some very light contact that did happen that Navarrete responded to. So I can kind of see both sides of the coin there on that, but it was a dramatic way to finish the game, no question about it. And Florida's got something in the tank for later on to get them even more riled up for the next time the teams face each other, no question about it. The next day, so here's the other side of the Jekyll and Hyde part about the Wave, which you're going to explain a bit about load management and injuries and things like that. But the next day they go to St. Louis to face the Ambush, who have not been a powerhouse this season, but you can never ever count them out. And they're of course fighting to try and get into the fifth spot, which will allow them to have a play in with the fourth place team for the postseason. So no question, a hungry Ambush team, but St. Louis 10-4 over the first place Wave. Give us your thoughts on that game first of all, before we get into sort of the nitty gritty of what went wrong.
Well, credit to the Ambush. They were certainly ready to play. This was the fifth meeting of the season between the clubs. We had beaten them the first four times, but the last time was a tight one in Milwaukee. We beat them 6-5. So, you could see that they were starting to maybe play a little more confidently against us. Obviously, they were well rested. We were coming off that game the night before in the quick turnaround, and again, we were missing a lot of our key veterans. Marcio didn't play. Andre didn't play. Those are definitely two of our key guys. But unfortunately, Alex, we've had several of these back-to-back bummers, if you want to say.
Yeah.
Again, maybe a little bit of load management. It seems weird every time you say load management. It seems like you're talking about the NBA, where those guys get load managed, practically every week. But mostly it's been just necessity because of the injuries. Now again, coaching staff, Giuliano Oliviero, Tanzan Rampa, they are very confident in the young guys that we run out there. If some of our veteran guys are unable to play, they have no issues with playing these guys. We feel we have a lot of good young talent, and I think we have seen quite a bit of growth and development with some of these young guys this season. But it's a big difference between playing a few of these guys at home with the rest of the veteran squad, and then having a bunch of them playing on the road with not as much experience. And so collectively, it's been in some tough games. St. Louis, I do feel, though, is a team on the rise. Jamie Thomas, big re-addition to the lineup. He had a couple of goals. And, the Ambush is, you can tell in the last couple of weeks, it seems like they're starting to come together a little bit here. So
JT Thomas, and JT Thomas returning from an Achilles injury, 2 goals, an assist, first start in that game. So, yeah, he's a huge part of the Ambush, obviously, and they have been looking good, and they're trying to chase down Utica for that 5th spot. Here's a question, though, because I do want to bring this up. Are these score lines concerning to you about the Wave? And I'll just throw it out because a big win against Florida 6-5 back on January 20th. The next day, 10-4 loss in KC, 10-4. Now, there was a lot of load management that day. They were missing a few players, but 10-4. 11-3 loss to Baltimore, of course, in the fortress that is CQ Arena, but to the Blast, 11-3, and now 10-4 loss to St. Louis. Now, with respect to all these teams and the way they performed so far this season, we're not talking about Chihuahua or San Diego. These are Eastern teams, and Milwaukee is in first place. Sure, maybe they aren't going to win those games, but there's the fashion in which they've lost those games with such lopsided scores. Does that concern you?
I think it's a little bit concerning if you look ahead down the stretch and let's say for some reason, some of these guys get injured and can't play, perhaps, in the postseason. So where are you then if we're not showing the results of the competitiveness right now? How are we going to do if it comes to that situation? If we're without some of our veteran players, pardon my cat there, coming down the stretch. These guys have got to be able to prove that they can step up and do the job. Again, at this stage, try not to get too overly excited about it. We're still in first place. We still had a good season. Yep. And, obviously we're still hoping that we can keep most of our experienced guys intact coming down the stretch here. But no, I agree, Alex. I think you would like to see us show a little more perhaps in a few of those games.
You're listening to MASL Monday on Sirius XM, FC channel 157, and watching on both Twitch and MASL TV on YouTube. Just a reminder to everyone that you can catch every single MASL game live and archive games as well on Twitch. So you can get a visual as to what we're talking about if you haven't seen these contests so far. And I'm joined by Tom Wynn here, who's the play-by-play man for the Milwaukee Wave. Tom, one more question about the Wave. One more point, actually. Ian Bennett, and we were trying to figure how many games it is, and we think it's 46. He extended the streak against Florida to 46, and then it finally came to an end. 46-game point scoring streak for IB26 against St. Louis on Sunday. So it finally comes to an end, but what a streak it was by one of the best all-time to play the indoor game.
No doubt about it. Ian he's been a great one for a long time. And, as I always like to say, he's 39 going on 29. His ability to play to really maintain the same style, throughout his career, using his speed, using his shooting ability, just his overall hustle, two-way player as well, really hustles on both ends of the field. Really amazing. I think of him in terms of Nolan Ryan. If some of our older players, I can remember Nolan Ryan. I'm sure you can, Alex.
Oh yeah.
A guy who pitched the same way when he was 45 as he did when he was 19. Could still throw it 100 miles an hour. So that's Ian Bennett in a soccer analogy. Nolan
was still beating people up at 42 as well.
You're right.
I can't remember who it was from the White Sox who charged the mound that time. Yeah, and Nolan taught him a little lesson, that young whippersnapper. But anyway, Bennett's just 46 games. What an accomplishment. Okay, 3 quick questions about the Wave. We'll make it quick before we move on to the rest of the league here. Number 1, can Milwaukee get healthy enough for a long playoff run, in your opinion? Will they be able to stay healthy?
Sure hope so. But again, the track record on a few of these guys hasn't been great the last couple of years. And, once you get older, once you've had a few injuries, it's tough to do, but we're sure hoping so.
Right. Are they too Ian Bennett dependent, do you feel, the Wave at this point? Huffman second with 26 points. Bennett, of course, leads the team with 36. Then it's a drop down to Alvarez in third with 16 points. Are they still a little bit too dependent on Bennett, do you think, for scoring?
Probably so. But I do think between Huffman, Alvarez, Leite, LSO, now Kudus Lawal, who's come on a bit the last few games, I think we certainly have enough offense, to do well the rest of the season, as long as our defense and goalkeeping can hold up. And our goalkeeper, Willie B, I think, has done a tremendous job for us so far this year.
Right. And my thanks to producer Phil Levanka, who just let me know that it was Robin Ventura was the young whippersnapper who charged Nolan Ryan on the mound and learned a lesson. And Robin, that's no slight on him. Of course, he was a legend himself. But anyway, I always loved that scene. One of the more entertaining baseball clips that I've ever watched in my life. Okay, let's move on to Baltimore. Again, the East this year is just such a crapshoot. From night to night, you never know what's going to happen. Baltimore hosting the KC Comets at CQ Arena, and 9-2 the Blast take them down. KC, a team that's has designs on making it to the final as well this season, and they've had some big wins themselves, but getting smoked 9-2 by the Baltimore Blast in Baltimore. Your thoughts on what went down in that game?
Well, the Blast has been Jekyll and Hyde all year, it seems, between home and road. Obviously that's a tough venue to play in for the opposing team. I thought KC might give them a little more of a game. It's kind of interesting how Zach Reggett coming back to play in Baltimore. It seems like he's played more games in Baltimore this year between his teams than he has in Kansas City. But, Yeah, no, the Blast, they play with a tremendous amount of confidence there. They haven't been able to show that as much on the road, but if they can carry the momentum from this game going forward, obviously they're going to be a factor. A lot of those players have been there, done that when you talk about postseason. So big win for Baltimore, kind of a confidence restoring win there for them, and a tough loss for Kansas City.
So Milwaukee, you guys are first. You got a 4-point lead over Florida in the standings. We'll get to the standings in a moment, but who would you say then, if the Wave are the first place team right now, and I would say that they've earned that first place. I think that they are as it stands, the best team in the East. Who to you is the second place? I mean, well, Florida is second in the standings, tied with Baltimore, but who do you see as being the biggest threat to the Wave to make the final this season, get out of the Eastern Conference?
I would say all three of those teams, anybody in the top four can win the East. And I'm not trying to discount, Utica or St. Louis, whoever finishes in fifth place. But really, it's so tight, Alex, between those the top four teams. I'd give everybody, a 25% chance, maybe nudge the Wave up to 26%.
Right.
We'll go 101% on that evaluation.
That 5th-6th battle between Utica and St. Louis is going to be fascinating to watch the rest of the way throughout the season. 3 points separating them right now. Let's move to the West, because Tacoma had a big weekend, and it was absolutely essential for them to do what they did, because of course they are trying to catch Monterey for 5th spot in the West. And the Stars, let's start with their game in Dallas. And oh man, I mean, yes, Tacoma pulls it out in the end, but wow, I mean, the Sidekicks, your heart goes out to them. It's just been such a tough season so far. They're looking for their first win. At one point, they were leading by 4 goals in the third quarter against Tacoma. They just could not hold the lead in this one, Tom.
Yeah, I watched a lot of that game. I thought for sure the Sidekicks were gonna finally get their first one of the year. I mean, credit to Tacoma to battle back and come back and, well, tie it up late and then win it in overtime. Nick Pereira is obviously on fire. That's been the big difference for Tacoma here these last few games. But Dallas. I give Ricardinho and their coaching staff credit. I mean, they're out there giving max effort every time, and unfortunately, it just hasn't happened for them. But again, they are still going to be difficult. The Wave has a back-to-back coming up in a couple of weeks against the Sidekicks, and that is not going to be easy. So, again, the Sidekicks are battling. You would think the odds are somehow they're going to come up with a win, and I'm just praying it doesn't happen when we play on March 18th and 19th.
Exactly, yeah. They've been, Blas Perez comes along, former Panamanian internationals, played so well. Flavio Guzman had 2 goals in that game. Roman Torres, 2 points as well. It feels like it's starting to come together for Dallas. They just need a bit of finish, close out these games. Just real tough. And there you see the overtime winner by Jamil Cox, who also had the game tying goal as well. But tough stuff for Dallas, but great for Tacoma. They needed that win, and then Tacoma goes into Mesquite to face an Outlaws team, which has been very tough this season, and grab a win on Mesquite's home floor, 8-5.
Well, there's no question. I think they carried over the momentum, right, from that game, from that big win against the Sidekicks. And like I said, Nick Pereira just absolutely on fire. He is, as Art and I have talked about, Art Kramer and I on the Way broadcast, an iconic member of the MASL 10-year team, which the League Elite celebrating its 10th anniversary next year. Nick Pereira is on every team, any kind of team you want to come up with for the first 10 years of the MASL. He's on it, along with Leo Gibson, Frank Tayu, Ian Bennett, Craig Childs, and then Boris Pardo, Daniel Venzela. Those guys are locked in, and then, maybe you can figure out who some of the other guys are. But the Stars, big, but at the same time, I think Mesquite might be might be fading a bit here. Now we'll see. Was it just a bad week for the Outlaws, or are they going to struggle a bit going forward? I guess we'll find out. But yeah, Mesquite, I'm not sure they're quite at the level they were maybe a few weeks ago.
And when we get to your power rankings later on in the show, that's going to be reflected. So stick around for those, everyone, because they are juicy for sure. And you mentioned Mesquite fading. Their week started as bad as can be imagined as they took on Monterey on Tuesday, 13-2. The Flash dropped Mesquite in that contest. That shocked me, for sure. What was your take on that one as we turn our attention to Monterey right now, who Tacoma is trying to chase down? But
I think the Flash,
yeah.
Flash was probably due to have a good one, right? They had struggled for, like the last 6-7 games. They had really been playing in quicksand there, it seemed like. So maybe Monterey was due to have a great game. They certainly did. And I definitely thought the Outlaws would keep it a little closer there. But, one thing about Monterey, maybe not so much this year, but if you look back in past seasons, once the avalanche kind of starts down there, it is very tough to stop. And so I think Monterey, maybe they are starting to get their legs back under them a little bit. We'll see going forward. But that was just maybe the timing of Monterey ready for a big game, and the Outlaws, obviously just not having a good game there.
Right. And Monterey also, so they matched Tacoma's 2 wins, doing what they had to do by getting 2 wins as well. The other win for them was a 12-6 victory over Utica on Sunday. And unfortunately for the Blues, UCFC, a tough Mexican swing as it often is for many teams when they play 2 games down there, as they get blown out both games that they played their Mexican opponents, the other game in Chihuahua, of course. Let's take a peek at the Western standings. And San Diego still leading the way, looking very strong. 6-point lead over Chihuahua at the moment. But what do you think about the West right now? And I mean, they got a game in hand on Chihuahua as well. Looks like San Diego is, not going to cruise, but they look like a good bet to once again, they get the first seed in the West.
Yeah, not quite on cruise control. They still have 5 home games remaining. And it's extremely difficult to win at Pachinga Arena. Chihuahua is right there. If for some reason the Sockers slip up, Savage could be right there possibly to take them for that number 1 spot. Of course, a team that really has great control of its destiny coming up is the Empire Strikers in 3rd place. They've got back-to-back now at home against the Chihuahua Savage and then the Sockers a couple days later. So great opportunity for them. And they were obviously on a roll before they had this little break in the schedule. But Strikers can't discount them from possibly challenging at least for 2nd place. I don't know if they can catch San Diego for 1st, but they can certainly make things interesting if they get a win against them coming up this week.
Yeah, I had a little back and forth through text with Empire Strikers broadcaster Christian Philly Filliman the other day. And they're obviously really pumped in Empire about how well the team's playing. But I was saying to him, this is the put up or shut up moment. This is, anyone who doubts the Strikers, this is their chance to silence those doubters this week with those 2 big games against the 2 top dogs currently from the Western Conference. Just a reminder to everyone, you are listening to MASL Monday on Sirius XM FC channel 157, watching on MASL TV on YouTube and on Twitch. And I am joined by Tom Wynn. Should be pointed out, by the way, MASL Monday every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. You can listen to the program, and we very much appreciate all our listeners and viewers out there. Tom Wynn joining me from the Milwaukee Wave, the play-by-play man. And we are going to get now to Tom's power rankings. And this has become a fan favorite over the last few weeks as we've been doing the rankings. And every week there's some spice in there. And, man, you are bringing the spice this week. Let's start off with 14-13, Dallas 14, Harrisburg and 13. Understandable. You've got Utica at number 12. Tell us about the Outlaws in number 11, though, which is sure to get some tongues wagging out there. You've got Mesquite at number 11, Tom.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think the Outlaws are fading a bit here. The power rankings, I guess, are probably power of the moment, right? And so right now it's maybe not a great moment for Mesquite. That's not to say that, they're going to be permanently entrenched there. But I think now they're going to have to, really prove if they're going to be able to hang on for a postseason spot. Tacoma right in front of them, and I think it's because, again, the Stars are building some momentum. Had the big win over Mesquite this past weekend, so that's why I've got Tacoma right above them. But yeah, no, I think the Stars got a great chance to catch Mesquite and take that final spot in the Western Division.
It's interesting that you've got so you got the Stars at 10, but you got the Ambush at number 9. Just looking at the standings, of course, Tacoma's got a winning record in the incredibly difficult Western Conference at 8-7-1, whereas St. Louis is 7-10-1 right now. So tell us about that.
Well, the Ambush, I think you got to peel back the layers a bit here to see what they're doing. They have played very well here the last few weeks. I think Paulo Nascimento, their goalkeeper, is on a roll. He's playing well. They get back Jamie Thomas. They signed 19-year-old Dominic Alvarado, I think his name is, who all of a sudden has just burst onto the scene there. They've got those two engines at midfield, Will S.K., Marcel Berry, who are just alone, extremely difficult for anybody to play against with the way those guys play and their work rate. And I think Ambush is coming. Now, we'll see. They've got back-to-back coming up against the Heat. So they almost have to, take both of those, or at least, come up with, let's say, 4 or 5 points in those two games if they're going to make a move to catch Utica, because they don't play Utica after that. But
Right.
No, I think the Ambush is definitely on the right track here.
Okay, we got KC at number 8. You've got Baltimore at number 7. I think part of the reason probably is because of that home field advantage, just how well they play at home.
Yep.
With the road record, of course, is another thing altogether. You got Florida at 6, and then Monterey at 5th. So just as we start to wrap it up here, I mean, obviously you've five spots between Tacoma and Monterey, and of course Monterey is the team that Tacoma's trying to hunt down. Just a 2-point difference between those two right now.
Yeah, like I said, I think the Flash might be on the uptick here a little bit. I'm sure they got their confidence back after these last couple of games, at least their offensive confidence. And, again, they have a lot of veteran guys who have been there, done that. So can't write them off. They had a coaching change down there. I'm sure that's been part of the transition as well. But a Flash could be positioned well here to make some noise down the stretch.
Okay, Milwaukee, you've got at 4. And then you got Chihuahua at 3. You've got the Strikers at number 2, but you still got San Diego at number 1. In order to be the champ, you got to beat the champ, and you've got the Sockers still reigning supreme in the MASL in your rankings.
No doubt. Somebody's going to have to knock them off, and it's going to be extremely difficult. And again, if they finish with that top overall seed, that means, they've got the home field advantage, as you want to characterize it in the MASL with the mini game. But boy, I mean, there can't be anything tougher than trying to win that mini game at Pachinga Arena to beat the Sockers if it comes down to it.
Right on. Okay, we got about 2 minutes left here, so let's quickly just go through goal of the week and moment of the week. And your goal of the week was the Cox game tying goal in the final minute of play for Tacoma against Dallas.
Yeah, 6th attacker bomb right here from Jamail. And boy, the Stars really needed it. And, who knows, Alex, that might turn out to be the turning point of the season for Tacoma here in the second half, because they look like they were going down the drain there. The Sidekicks were going to get their first victory, and, a wonder strike almost by Jamail Cox to tie that game up. And then, of course, he scored the game winner in OT.
Yeah, beautiful. I could have gone with Ishmael Rojo again from San Diego, who had almost a carbon copy of his goal last week, minus a pass from Craig Childs, but absolute banger from distance, top shelf. I took actually Flavio Guzman from Dallas, showing the Sidekicks some love in that game against San Diego. The 4th goal, where he just did a beautiful job taking down a couple of Sockers and then with a gorgeous strike. So that was my goal of the week. And real quick, your moment of the week.
Well, I'm going to go with Andre Haynes' goal which proved to be the game winner in that game between the Wave and the Tropics. Kind of a scramble type goal, but I think, Alex, again with the controversy surrounding it, makes it the moment of the week. And boy, you got a feel for the Tropics. That goal, I'm sure in their minds, should have been waved off. And then, of course, they had that other game this year in St. Louis, where the goal by Drew Ruggles in the last moment that would have tied up the game was denied, even though it looked like it was 99.9% over the line, but denied in review. And so I'm sure they aren't exactly enjoying, the review, process.
It hasn't gone their way so far, yeah. You know what? And it's my moment. I'm going to actually take, for a couple of reasons, I'm going to take the Jamil Cox game-winning goal in overtime against Dallas, but because of the agony and the ecstasy, both sides of it. The ecstasy was Tacoma. It was a great goal. It was a great win, character win by the Stars. But the agony part, and this is why we love sports in general, was just, Dallas so close to their first win. And the one thing that stuck out for me was Eddie Pascarich. I love Eddie. We've had him on the show before. He does such a great job. Him and Matt Thornton, they score the goal, and you just hear Eddie on the broadcast going, "You broke my heart. You broke my heart." So if you haven't heard it, folks, go on to Twitch, watch the archive of the game. Number one, because it was a great game, but for that moment, oh man, so happy for Tacoma, but just heartbroken for Dallas and their hardworking broadcasters who were hoping for their first win, but hearts do get broken in the world of sports, and that's why we love it so much, because of the agony and the ecstasy. Today was nothing but ecstasy, though, my friend. This was a lot of fun, Tom. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And we're going to be watching you the rest of the season. The Wave, a good chance they might make it out of the Eastern Conference and to the finals. So we could be going all the way with you guys this year. So great job today. And thank you for taking the time, buddy.
Alex, thank you very much. I had a great time. And we'll look forward to the rest of the season here. Should be a good one in the MASL.
Definitely. And thanks to everyone for listening. Just a reminder, you can listen on Sirius XM FC channel 157 every Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. You can watch on Twitch and on MASL TV on YouTube. And, of course, all MASL games you can watch live and the archive on Twitch. Thanks so much for watching and listening, everyone, and we will see you next Monday.